one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
I'm Bruce.
All right. So, welcome back.
Thanks.
You gave me a book
For your birthday.
for my birthday.
Long
Long
time
time ago. Well, we were saving it for around this time anyway.
Yeah.
And it was called Tremors. Is it Finding Perfection? Yes.
Yes.
I look it over that shelf there. Finding Perfection. Now, they came out with a documentary a while back called Finding Perfection. Not as good. Read the book.
Not really a while back. It was October.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, though, read the book. Read the book. The book is a billion times better and has more information. And I'm going to give my breakdown here and tell you what I read. First off, it's fantastic. It came out right before 5 was coming out.
Yes.
So they stop at 5, okay? Or they stop after 4, let's say. But it talks about, and this I think they talked about in the documentary, I can't remember, but S.S. Wilson, the writer, the original writer of it, got the idea when he was in the Navy in Nevada, and he saw some sand lions. They're these little creatures that eat ants, and they were digging into the ground, just kind of burrowing into the ground. He thought, and he just wrote an idea for a script called Land Sharks. Okay, that's what he was thinking. The sharks on land. That would be awesome. Now, later on, he'd go on to write a cartoon. That's how he got his start. Talking about turning toys into vehicles. It was written by a toy company. Toy company hired him to write a cartoon called Mask. Remember Mask?
He did Mask?
He wrote Mask.
Oh my goodness.
He wrote Mask. He said the toy company goes, "Here's the toys. They're going to be regular cars. They're going to turn into this motorcycle will turn into a helicopter. This whatever. This fighter will turn into a jet or whatever." And he goes, "So you need to write a cartoon around it." He was like, "Okay." And that they really didn't care much about this. It wasn't
That
about
was
the
the 80s.
script. It was about, okay, hey, this is a new toy coming out. Put it in the next
Yeah.
episode. And that's really what it was. It was toy companies. And I mean, you think about this, you're like, soulless cartoons of the 80s. Man, I love that cartoon.
Those were fantastic.
And I bought those toys. I mean,
The thing is, I've gone back, take like the G.I. Joe comic book. You can go back right now, read it, and you know which figure was coming out that month.
Yeah.
By that comic
Yeah.
book. But at the same time, it's so fun.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
It was very ingenious marketing.
Yeah.
Because they did something that was very clever.
Yeah, but it wasn't about characters or building a story. Just have them do this, and then after a while, the last season was race them. We're doing racers now, so that's why every episode was them racing Venom in, Brazil to get the rights for this formula or whatever, because they had to show the race cars that they were doing in there. So they had to fit them in there somewhere. So the stories just got more dumbed down. It's like, just push the toys. Yeah, but we loved it. Now he also worked on a few other things. I don't know if you ever saw this. It's a TV movie. I remember it was on ABC's Saturday morning movie matinee or whatever. The Mouse on a Motorcycle. If you ever saw that as a kid, just about a mouse on a motorcycle. He worked on that. The mouse was obviously a little puppet they put on a remote control motorcycle. But he also did Batteries Not Included.
I did know that.
Which was a fun movie. I remember that.
Liking that as a child.
Yeah, I watched it a few years ago. It's okay. And then, which I did not know this, Short Circuit.
I did know that as well.
Yeah. Now, that was in the documentary, but yeah, they did Short Circuit. It was a hit. And so that's when the producer said, okay, what else you got? And so they showed her all the stuff they had. And she said, I like this Land Sharks thing. Let's roll with this.
I would say this. If I were a movie person and I heard Land Sharks, that would not have been my first go.
Yeah, I know, for real. But she was like, that's the one I like the best. But they did Short Circuit 2 before Tremors 2. And, the Short Circuit movies were great in the 80s. And I remember as a kid not liking 2 as much. And then I bought them because they were like, it was a 2-for-1 DVD. And I was like, for $5 at Walmart.
Did you overpay?
I did overpay by about $4.50. I overpaid for those movies. The first one, I mean, the first one's, I guess, okay. It's pretty cheesy 80s, and it's not as good
Yeah.
as I remembered as a kid. And the second one is just as bad as I remembered.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously, just a rip off of the first one with less talent, with Steve Guttenberg and whatever, they're gone. They bailed,
Yeah.
and it's just there's just not much for it. So, I mean, but they did that because the first one made tons of money, and they said do a second one. They went, "Oh, okay." Um, Talking about Tremors, John Cusack was originally considered for the role of
Oh.
Val.
Oh, wow.
So, and Universal Studios wanted not Fred Ward, James Gardner.
Oh my goodness.
And they were really pushing hard
That would have been different.
for James Gardner. And they're like, why James Gardner? And they think it was that Universal had just settled a legal dispute with James Gardner over the rights of the Rockford Files. And part of that settlement was they were going to give him a movie deal.
And that was
A
what they want
picture.
to throw at him.
And so they wanted to know what can we give him because we promised him to top billing in a movie, but he's old. Oh, this script calls for an older guy. Put James Gardner in. They're like, he's really not what we're looking for. And they said we want James Gardner. They're like, but he said that's probably why there was a big push for it at the
Yeah, it's
time.
also one of those things that's everything wrong with Hollywood and how they
Exactly.
think about stuff.
Exactly. They didn't care about the movie that much. They just wanted to settle this litigation dispute with
You got a good
James
movie
Gardner.
and you're gonna ruin it with just these backroom politics.
And I would say that only just a few years later, Maverick came out starring James
And he did great in
Gardner.
that.
So yeah, he did great. So and that was the better fit for him anyway.
Yeah.
So that one worked out. But originally he was supposed to be in Tremors. Now I think about that and I think no. I think of John Cusack and I think maybe.
That is possible.
Maybe. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Kevin Bacon. I'm glad Kevin Bacon's in it. I love Kevin Bacon in the movie. He's great for the role. But just thinking about someone else, John Cusack probably would have been a nice one. It was Reba McEntire's very first film. She was also kind of shoehorned into the script to play
Really?
Gummers. Yes, because she had a recording label with Universal who was doing that. So she was about to do her newest album, and they thought, why not put her in a movie
She's a good fit.
as her new? And she was a great fit. Reba McEntire was excellent in those movies.
That movie.
Well, that movie, yeah. I'm sorry, but she was going on tour, I think, a little bit too. So her tour thing, and that's why she wasn't anymore. I think because she wanted to be in more.
It's
But
from what I've heard,
her career
from
took off in
things,
the
yeah,
90s.
it sounded like she was kind of she would have been willing to do two, but just other things were going on.
Yeah, other things were going on. I'll get to that when I get to 2. This is just on the first movie here. Mindy, which I need to see this movie again because I don't remember this, is the same girl who played Lex on Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
They got her right before Jurassic Park. I
Yep.
didn't realize that. When she went for the role, the director said, "Do you know how to pogo stick?" She said, "Absolutely." Then she looked at her after she left. She went, "Hey, mom, what's a pogo stick?" And so they went and bought a pogo
That's
stick.
how you act. That's how you get
Yep,
roles.
Yep.
That's how Chris Pratt got his first role.
You lie.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. That's right. So that's what she did. She lied, and she didn't know what a pogo stick was, and she told her mom and said, "Let's get you a pogo stick." And so she started learning how to pogo stick all day long before the filming started, so she could tell them, "Yeah, I know how to pogo stick. I'm a pogo stick master." Um, Michael Gross, I did not realize this, had just before he left to, I mean, it was a day before he went to go film for Tremors. They had filmed the last episode of Family Ties.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. I didn't know he was that close.
It was a bold choice.
It was a very bold choice. It was the wrap party for Family Ties the night before, and then he reported to Tremors. And he remembers sitting there, and he said, "Whoo, like this is completely different." He said he shaved his beard, which he was known for his beard. He was,
Meant to do a mustache.
the dad kept the mustache. Decided to keep the mustache. Originally was going to shave it all off, but decided that when he shaved the beard, looked at himself in the mustache, he goes, "I think this is pretty good." And the directors approved it and said, "Yeah, you can keep your mustache." But they didn't want him looking like obviously the Family Ties
because
guy.
he's a different guy.
But he said he'd kept that beard for so long, that's what he was known as. He was known as, the nice that every
American Dad.
America's dad, and now he's kind of the exact opposite of, because he was America's dad who would be against guns, who would be against this, but no,
He
he's
went full
gun.
on MAGA.
Yeah, he did. He did. He's great. Um, Originally they wanted to call it was going to be called Land Sharks, and they knew that wasn't the great
Bad name.
title.
Bad name.
And the one that they fought for and almost got and kept, in fact, in production, I think it was called Beneath Perfection. Now, I'll be honest, that's nice. I like it, but Tremors was the best
Tremors is
idea.
a better name.
Tremors is the better name. But
I would have taken Beneath Perfection as the spin-off series or the
something like that. I would have taken that
novel
too.
that came out, progressing the series negatively. But yeah.
Yeah.
Tremors is the best name.
Yeah, Tremors was a great name for it, and they said they lost that after in post-production or whatever. They were so upset, but Tremors is the better name. Beneath Perfection is a smart name, but it
Yeah.
really doesn't tell you much.
It's not a seller.
Yeah, it's not a seller. Well, neither was Tremors, I guess. But anyway,
Eventually.
Perfection, Nevada is actually located in Lone Pine, California. That was the only time they ever filmed there. None of the other sequels in Perfection, I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
None of the other sequels went back to California, and they said you can tell, especially in the TV show, because there's no mountains like there was in it. But to be honest, in the TV show, I just never noticed that.
Yeah.
I never noticed they weren't there. I just thought, well, they'll always be there. They said it was 100 degrees in the day, and it would snow at night.
Yeah.
So not the best conditions. The dust tornadoes, they said, would rip through the town. So they built the town just in an area, dead end area, and but dust tornadoes would go and tear through that town, and eventually they had to just tie everything down, the whole set down, because it was getting torn up all the time. The weather conditions were awful, and there was only, and the TV documentary tells you this, there was only one hotel.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fit to hold a camera and crew, so they're all kind of bunched in there. But that's kind of neat to hear them talk. But they all talk about how much fun they had. Of course, there were a lot of times where they had a matte painting and filmed inside because it was snowing outside at night, and they couldn't do that.
In the desert.
They thought they misinterpreted what a PG-13 rating was. They thought they could get away with 2 F words. Found out they could only have 1, so they had to cut a scene.
Oh my goodness.
Had to cut an F word scene, they said. Now, they couldn't, let me see, who was it? Oh, yeah, Kevin Bacon. I guess the star usually buys presents for the cast and crew at the end of production. I don't know if
No
that was a
idea.
tradition back then or something they still do now. But no, it was the producers couldn't buy. That was it. So Kevin Bacon split the cost with the producers. He took some of the money out of what he was making to make sure the cast and crew got little presents or something at the end of the wrap party. So just showing you Kevin Bacon, nice guy.
Nice
At
guy.
this point in his career, he had Footloose, and he was looking for something big coming up. And he wasn't as, they said this in the documentary. He supposedly, when he got the call and accepted the job because he didn't have anything else coming in, he supposedly just fell down on the street and just cried out, "I'm in a damn worm movie," movie about space worms or something. He was not happy about it at first. There was a deleted scene, and this is what I want to say. I want to see these deleted scenes of the worms coming to Earth. Like
Really?
like them falling out of the sky, and because Universal thought we need to have a reason for
Yeah.
how they got there.
I like the just.
No, I liked it too. That they just been there.
Yeah.
But originally they wanted them to have a scene where they fall from the
Like the very
sky.
beginning of Predator, where you see the ship pass by
Exactly.
Earth.
You
And
got to
drop
have a
something.
reason for why they're there, or film,
Just go with it.
movie. Yeah. And of course it performed terribly at the box office.
In theaters.
And Kevin Bacon wanted to crawl into a hole and die because he knew it was going to be a
I
bad
saw
movie.
it in theaters.
You did.
I did.
You did.
I did.
Now they blame Universal for the marketing. They said Universal did not know how to market a horror comedy, and that there is a fine line with making. No one had really done horror comedy that much, and they couldn't figure out how to market it.
The thing is, the reason I got to see it was my mom saw, it was like, I want to think it was like Good Morning America or something. There was a reviewer that gave it really high remarks, talking up the horror comedy aspects, and she took us to see it. And
Well,
they sold it to my mom,
wow, that's really cool.
and
That's a great movie.
yeah,
First off, it's a great movie. Now, where it failed at the box office, it killed on home video.
Blockbuster
It
made it
killed.
into a blockbuster.
And Universal saw that the numbers for Tremors were so high that they greenlit a movie release sequel going out in theaters.
Yes.
Their one condition was Kevin Bacon had to be in it. They got Fred Ward, they got Michael Gross. They could not get Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon said, "Hell no." He didn't want to be in that. He hated the movie. He hated Tremors. He appreciates it now. But at that point, he's like, I'm not doing that movie. That movie was a bomb. I don't want to do a sequel for. Oh, it's gotten big now. Yeah, whatever. He said he did not want to be a
It
part of
was
that
the
movie.
beginning of the whole home video market, and nobody understood.
So still, they went to Universal. Said, well, can we still put it in theaters? Okay, you got to get more people on board. So Reba had to be on board. She politely had to decline because she was in the middle of a tour and she could not be there for filming. So even if Reba had been in it, they were still interested in releasing it in theaters, all but the main star. Okay. But they said Kevin Bacon was probably the real deal breaker, and they probably knew Reba couldn't do it. But anyway, Kevin Bacon's son rented and watched Tremors 2. He said, Dad, have you seen Tremors 2? He said, No, son, I'm in the first one. I'm not in the sequel. He said, I know, Dad. It's the best one.
And his son
His,
is right.
his son is right. But his son said it's the best one of them both. So he's like, wow, okay. So he said that told him something right there that they made a great movie. So now we're moving in to Tremors 2 here. Grady replaces Val in the script.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be the same. The script is almost the same, except Val was going to be Grady.
Obvious.
Um, I said originally Val and Earl would run an ostrich farm and fail to capitalize on their success. So these two idiots got money, they got fame, they spent it poorly, and they're back where they left off. Val's wife left him. And they were going to do that bit, which I'm kind of sad about.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. Now Reba McEntire's lines were still in there. They were given to Bert,
Oh.
and I'm wondering, has Reba ever run out of ammo before? I don't know. Whose line was that?
Was Reba doing what she could with what she
What she
had?
had with what she I know, that's the thing. But the thing is, though, they gave him all of the greatest lines, and honestly, that's Michael Gross makes Tremors 2
Oh, I
what it
know.
is. I remember when we first watched that, we went to Video Giant. I don't know if you remember this. We got that 10 for 10. $10, 10
The
movies,
thing
10
is, no,
nights.
no, I do. The thing is, before that,
Mhm.
I had seen, I, I saw
Oh,
Tremors in
really?
theaters and loved it. I saw Tremors 2 pop up on the movie rental shelves. And I was like, I've been burned by this before.
Mhm.
But I had a dream one night of worms under the earth
Oh my
coming to
goodness.
grab me. And, so I had a hard no for Tremors 2 for a long time until I had this dream. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, I kind of want to see Tremors 2. So that when now you start your story.
Oh, so we go to Video Giant, that's one of the movies we threw in there with
I
everything
was
because
ready for it.
I didn't know. We saw it. I was like, oh, shut up! They made a sequel, so I was interested. I was like, okay, so we threw that in, and I don't know where in the group. I know it wasn't the last movie. It wasn't the last movie we watched because we had a ton of movies, and it was somewhere in the middle. I want to say, and that was the best one out of
By
all
far.
of them by
By
far.
far.
And I remember it was me, you, and Roger, and we did not stop laughing and we could not stop talking. And even I remember we popped in the next movie after that, and the whole time we were sitting there during the other movie quoting Tremors 2
Yeah.
and laughing to each other because this other movie sucked.
The thing is, Tremors 2 is probably one of the handful of direct to
DVD.
video releases that should have been a um, released in theaters.
Oh yes,
I mean, there
absolutely.
is nothing about it that is direct to video. It
Yes.
is everything that you want to
It
see
is
in
movie
a
quality. Yeah, at that time, it was movie quality, on
yeah.
par with everything else. And the thing is that they had a shoestring budget,
Yes.
and they made it happen. Um, Matthew Perry was considered for the role of Grady
Mm,
at the time, which would have
okay.
been interesting. And that was a real Playboy issue in the movie.
I figured.
Fred Ward. The thing is, the actress, they just tried to find an actress who looked like her 20 years later. That
That's
was one of the
funny.
things. But they wanted to use
I
the real
always
cover.
assumed that was real.
I'll tell you what, there you go. Gummer's big gun he has is real. That was the big, doing what I can
Not
with what I
surprised.
got, and it shot real bullets because they couldn't make blanks for that, so it would really shoot. They have to clear everyone off the stage while he shot. And no sound was added. That's actually the sound of that gun, a big boom there. So it's awesome. Tremors 2 did have a special screening. It screened for a fundraiser for his son's school. Right before it came out on VHS, I would have died
Mm,
to have been there to see
lucky
that.
kids.
Lucky kids. Um, let's see. And since most of them didn't have kids back when the first movie was made, that's why they cut down the cussing in this movie.
Yeah.
They all were parents by the time Tremors 2 came around and said, let's keep this more friendly. And it's a great deal because they know you're going this to home video and families are going to want to watch that. And if it's funny, if it's clean for the most part, then yes,
Yeah.
that's going to get an okay. And it's smart sense. That's why people don't want R-rated movies, right? Well,
That's
them
why
kids are
PG
going to see it.
13 does the best. It pushes
PG,
it a
yep,
little bit, but not too far. And
yeah.
really,
Best of both
PG
worlds.
13 modern days don't push it as far as they used to because of that reason.
And Tremors 2 made big bank at home
Yes,
video.
it did.
Big bank.
Did well.
It exceeded expectations at Universal. Universal automatically said, and I did not know this, that we're doing a 3, we're doing a 4, and then a TV series was in the making too. I mean, they were thinking, wow, we've got something here. Let's work this.
Except for
So
comic books
so
and
Tremors.
action figures,
Yeah, that was dumb. And I don't think they addressed why they never had. They
licensing.
didn't do licensing, which is 101. You would know this by now. I mean, hasn't George Lucas taught these people anything? But Tremors 3 was made purposely without Fred Ward. They could have gotten him. They
What
didn't
else was
ask
he
him
doing?
back. Well, they felt that since they got Val off happily ever after and they gave Fred off happily ever after,
That
and at
makes
the
sense.
time, 3 was seen as the final one. Because I mean,
Yeah,
Universal was talking about this and that, but nothing was concrete. 3 was concrete,
and it
and that was
was the
supposed to
final
be,
life cycle.
and that was supposed to be it. Because good things come in trilogies, so 3 was supposed to be it. Um, and they figured that he and Grady made tons of money during that movie, so the Grady wouldn't be back either. And Earl's a lot smarter than Val, as they proved in the
Yeah,
first movie, so that he wouldn't blow it. He wouldn't blow that money. He wouldn't make a mistake again. He made a mistake the first time. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. So, um, and the daughter Mindy, they were trying to get her to come back. She couldn't be found because she didn't have an agent at the time. This big Jurassic Park star was gone, and they didn't know where she was. Well, one of the actors who played her mom said, "Oh, she's in college right now." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, you want me to call her?" She kept up with her, and they've been friends
yeah.
since Tremors.
And thankfully, she had some time.
Yeah,
If they would have filmed during,
she got an excuse from her professors to go and shoot the movie for a few weeks. She had to get out of school for 2 weeks to film her scenes. But, they wanted her back, they just couldn't find her, but the mom found her. But she was done. In fact, I think she does art now. She doesn't
yeah,
even do theater. She was already out by then. It's kinda funny, you were in Jurassic Park and Tremors, you're like,
I'm
"I'm
sure she
done."
gets a decent residual from
Yeah, oh,
Jurassic
no, I'm sure
Park.
she does. Um, Now Tremors 3 had 0 promotion They said there was zero fanfare, zero promotion around
Oh,
it.
it just appeared one day.
Universal wanted to crank it out, and okay, we forgot about this movie. Sure, it made us money. You can make a third one. We don't care about when it comes out. If he said they would have made fanfare, it would have been something, but it made money. Again, it made money, and it was huge in Asia. In fact, it got when it debuted, or no, when it went on the Sci-Fi Channel, because the Sci-Fi Channel showed it. It was at the time, the second highest rated show that they had on Sci-Fi Channel. When they played the Dune movie, was their number one. But that was their number one direct to DVD. So I mean, 3 just blew up, and I mean, that's when Sci-Fi Channel went, who is owned by Universal, that's a
Yeah.
subsidiary, went, "We
What
need
is this
original
Tremors?
programming. We want Tremors, because Tremors made bank for us, that was a big one for us." So, now the Sci-Fi, series, Sci-Fi pitched Universal, their own parent company, to do a TV show of this, and the idea originally was to have Val and Earl come back for the TV show, and they were gonna be, get this, investigating different monsters every week. They're gonna be monster hunters. What Tremors 5 turned out to tease at the end, the monster hunters theme.
Yeah.
That was what they wanted. Of course, they couldn't get Fred Ward or Kevin Bacon to go do a TV show.
They probably could get more if they tried. But
Yeah,
once
but
Kevin
back
Bacon said
then,
no, it's like, why try more?
right, but back then, TV wasn't as, esteemed.
Oh, yeah.
A movie actor does
Did not do
movies.
TV at that
They
time.
didn't do TV at the time, so that wasn't gonna happen, but that's what they wanted. Now, Nancy, the mom from the movies, was sent to be in the TV show, but at the time, she didn't know about the TV show. She thought they said 3 was it. She said she never would have signed. She signed an exclusive contract on another show for 2 years and cried when they called her for Tremors,
Oh my
because she
goodness.
wanted Tremors. But she really hates that she couldn't be on the TV show. Um, but she told him, she said, "You know what? I'll break this contract. I don't care if I get sued." And that's what she said. And so they were thinking, well, if she wants to break that contract, and Universal goes, we could be putting that lawsuit. So no, 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 no. We're the reasons that made her, jump ship or whatever. So they didn't want to have any legal trouble with it. But she was said, "I will tear up this contract right now. I want to be on Tremors." That's the show I've always, she's always had fun with that. Jack Sawyer, who was in the third movie, he kind of took over Grady's Jeep business. He had to be replaced because he'd gotten a job on another TV show at the time, and so he couldn't do it because he was too busy. Melvin, the
Yeah.
kid, had been left out of the show. They didn't even call him, and the actor's like, "I'm doing a TV show. I want to be in a
Of
TV
course he
show."
was abused.
And so he said, "Hey," he called the producer saying, I heard you were doing a show. I want to be a part of it." And they said, "Sure." And to be honest, Melvin's a good character in the
Yeah.
TV show. He's still the weaselly little kid now, but he's an adult now, trying to sell off the land and stuff. So his character actually went well, but that's because the actor's like, "Can I come back in the show?" So they did. Now we're into the TV show now. Miguel, he was killed off in the third movie, and they regretted doing that because if they would have known about a TV show, they wanted to keep him alive. They felt like Miguel just had to die. Someone, nice
Yeah.
had to die. So they had to, and he got killed off as a joke, and so they definitely would have kept him in that. And that's why they had Rosalita. I'll see her in later on here.
Yeah.
Rosalita, Miguel's niece, take over the farm.
Yeah.
But they said Miguel should have been in the TV show. They just didn't know there was a TV show. Christopher Lloyd and Michael Rooker were big fans of Tremors, the movie, which is
Oh.
why they decided to do guest star
Oh,
appearances
nice.
on the TV show. Because you think, wow, how did you get Christopher Lloyd to do your
Decent guys.
movie? So yeah, but they were big
Yeah.
fans of the TV show movie.
Christopher Lloyd does a lot.
He does. He does. Now, supposedly, he says there were other stars that were lined up for more guest star appearances. because everyone was a fan of Tremors at the time.
Yeah.
But of course, they didn't get to do it. And the book doesn't say who those celebrities were. So come
Who
on,
does? Who
name
does?
drop someday. They wanted to film Tremors 4 and the TV show at the same time. Universal cut in. This is the thing, and they couldn't understand this. The parent company said, "We're filming at this time." Well, wait, we're still doing the company you own called Sci-Fi is doing our show right now. Yeah, but we want to do Tremors 4 right now too.
Which is why Michael Gross is not in the
Which
last
is
few
why he's not in
episodes.
a few episodes. He isn't in all 13 episodes because he had to go film for the movie and take away from the TV show. And they're like, "Why can't you work together? Can you just push the schedule a little bit?" So they had to shift things around
Because
in the
people were
TV show.
just dying for Tremors 4 at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we knew at this point it was coming out. I think when the TV show had been
Yeah.
announced, they'd also said there's gonna be a 4, so we were all excited for it.
But we were going to be okay if it had to wait a month.
Do you remember watching it together? Tremors
Yeah.
TV series. I remember what we watched that. I love the
The
opening
TV series is
credits.
fantastic. It
TV
really
series
is.
is unbelievably good, really good. Of course, Burt Gummer's the best thing in it, and one of my favorite lines is when the Shriekers come, and again, when they do the Shrieker episode, I think it's the it's one of the Shrieker episodes, and they eat the power cables, and the lights go out, and then all the lights come back on. He went, "Backup generator." And he's like, "Told you all should get a backup generator. That's the thing to do, Bubba." He's bragging. "Y'all don't get a backup. You don't listen to me. You don't get a." And then the backup generator. They're attacking the generator. He goes, "Oh," and then they're all like sad. They go back in the dark, and then the lights come back on, and everyone's like so confused. And then the lights come back on. Michael Gross went, a backup generator." I'm telling you, that's
Nothing
what I
is
knew.
more Burt Gummer than a
That
backup.
it was just great. It was great. Um, but they said there was a lot of problems with the TV show. One, they aired the episodes out of order, which confused everyone, which is sad. It's sad when they do that. Of course, Burt Gummer not being there was a hit, but they said also the scripts were being rewritten during filming. I mean, they'd be 1 or 2 days prior and giving the prop people 0 time to work on props, so props were not as good. They said things could have looked nice, thinking, "Man, y'all went cheap on this." No, we just didn't have the scripts in time, so the prop people kept sitting there going, "What do you need? What do you need? Okay, you need that. When do you need it? Now we're about to film the show in an hour. What?" And so they had to cobble something together real quick, and that's why nothing looked as good as they wanted it to. Um, a- and and they didn't realize how hard it would be to get some of the CGI in some of the shots.
No.
And so CGI, they didn't realize how much time was going into that, how much effort. CGI was fairly new for
It was
TV.
getting better
It was
at the
getting
time.
better,
That's
wasn't
when
there
it
yet.
was not. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great at that point.
And there was a change at Universal Studios. Someone took over, a changing of the guard there, and he put a halt on their TV series for 2 months. And there's that they were, getting into a pace, then they had to pause for 2 months before he approved it again.
Why
He
couldn't we
wanted
have filmed
to approve.
4 then?
Yeah, exactly. Um, because and get this, the request was, "Can you make it look more like Battlestar Galactica?" That's how much they were so disconnected with this show.
No,
And
you
he
cannot
said,
do that.
"No, we can't," because Battlestar Galactica at the time was just kicking it, and everyone wanted to copy that. That's the reason was that's the problem with Stargate. Stargate Universe tried to copy it. It's a
Yeah,
poor ripoff of it, and
yeah.
it's terrible. It's terrible. They missed the desired rating, even after all that said, and I think you told me this, by 1/10 of
They
a
were
percent
like
to save the show.
just the most minor unit that you can be. It was like that unit under.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, if the shows probably would have been in order, they said they probably would have had that higher count.
And if they would have kept Michael Gross in all the episodes.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things, but even with all that, all those factors, they said they still just missed the cut. The actress who played Rosalita said years later that she went on a date with someone, and she mentioned to him, she said, "Yeah, I used to do a show on Tremors," and then the date dropped his mouth and went, "You're Rosalita." She's like, "Yeah, I was Rosalita," and so he proceeded to tell her, I had the biggest crush on you on that show. And then in front of her, he got on his phone and called his buddies and said, "Guess who I'm on a date with?"
Dude, you
Because
ruined it.
I know because all of his buddies were in love with Rosalita too, and he
Ah,
couldn't believe it. Um,
you could have married her, dude, but you
yeah,
had to go fanboy.
he said he told her this. He went, "Yeah." He said, "Whenever we saw a hot girl, we would say she's hot, but she ain't no Rosalita." And I'll be honest, Rosalita was nice. She was nice looking. She was nice looking. But that was funny. That's one of the stories that she told. Um, Christopher Lloyd, at his age, yeah,
He was old in
he
that
was old
movie.
in
He
that
was
movie.
yeah.
He would work in the extreme heat and then in the extreme cold of the weather condition, but never once complained. Never once complained. He was
He's a
so
professional.
professional. Yeah, so professional. In fact, they said one time they were having trouble with the scene. He stayed until 2 a.m. He was doing the scene at 2 a.m. and they said it was perfect, just like the first time. He never complained at all. They said he never complained the whole time. That I would like to say that when I'm 60 something, it doesn't matter
The
how
thing is,
much you're
I've always
paying.
respected Christopher Lloyd.
No,
I know some people trash on him, but you know
you can't. You can't
he
when you
is
hear
an
stuff like
actor's
that.
actor.
He is. He really is. Um, when they brought the graboids to the set was in Mexico, by the way, and they had to get guns, they had to disassemble them and send them over in pieces and then reassemble them in Mexico. There's a lot of issues going on. When they brought the graboid to the set, they crossed the border. The border police stopped them. They said, "What is that?" And they said, "It's a graboid." And they were like, "What is a graboid?" And they said, "We're doing a movie on Tremors." And they said, "Tremors?" They all knew Tremors. So they took pictures with the graboid.
Of course. What else would you do?
But they said, yeah, it would, but to even get guns in Mexico was a 5-month process because the U.S. government didn't want them importing guns to Mexico
Yep.
unchecked. So that was a big
Only the
deal for
government
them
can
to
do
get
that.
that. So filming in Mexico was done because it was super cheap and it looked like the old set. Getting extras for the TV show was extremely hard because it's just a Mexican. They had to go to this Mexican town
Kind of
and
out in the middle of nowhere in the desert.
get
Yeah,
local
I would
actors,
think
and there
so.
weren't that many. And one time they gave a role to a guy who turned out to be mentally insane. After the first take, he started beating himself on the ground and then going nuts, just flailing around. They're like, "Oh, we just got a crazy person." And they removed him and replaced him with someone else.
Oh, good for them.
But they said so some of the acting is kind of wooden because there were no actors to call upon in that area. Um, there were Mexican caterers there, and they wanted to make an American food, but it sucked. So Michael Gross said, "Hey, why don't y'all just make some Mexican food?" And they did from then on out because they were trying to make the pizza, the hot dog, the hamburger, and everything they made was awful. And said, just make Mexican food. We'll eat Mexican food. We're fine with that. Um, on top of being Back to the Future. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway. All right. So, Mandy or Mindy, I guess, was replaced with another actor. Because in the TV show, because she was an artist by now and she had not wished to come back. She came back for the third movie, but she was done with Hollywood by then. But they did try to get her to come back. It rained now during Tremors 4, trying to make excuses for Tremors 4 here. It rained the entire time through Tremors 4. And so that was miserable. They had to set up tents, they said, just to whatever. But they said it was the rain was so hard they had to redo scenes because no one, they couldn't hear. Boy, I hate this movie. Anyway,
4 is
the
not bad.
the
Don't listen to Matt.
the mine cave. I never knew this. The entrance to the mine cave. I should have known this. That is the entrance to the Bat Cave from the 1960s
Of course.
show. That's where they filmed that. They said they used tents to save on wood cost, obviously, because they didn't have any money. And they said even though they had more money to work on in the two previous sequels, because it was a Western, they paid more. They didn't pay that much for costumes. So, because they had Western costumes they could borrow. But They bought a stupid train, and they didn't buy a track for it because they couldn't afford it. But they really like that train they got. I mean, it's just so dumb. Their mismanagement of money. He defends Tremors 4 because, of course, he knows that
4 is not bad.
He knows fans don't like it. Well, Tremors 4 was the least successful film of the franchise.
It's a TV movie, but it's not bad.
And that was the last time the writer and the director writer, the team that created Tremors was involved. They blamed it on marketing again, though Tremors 3 didn't have marketing and it sold well, but but they blame it on marketing and Universal didn't give it a shot. Anyway, the director said he's had people tell him Tremors 4 is their favorite movie of all.
Yeah.
I mean, just deny
It's
all
not
the hate.
denial. There are newbies that are introduced to the series that like 4 a lot.
Yeah, another thing that they blamed Tremors 4 on, they said direct-to-DVD sequels weren't big anymore, and Redbox was ruining their sales.
I think 4 was before Redbox.
Well, I mean, I know, but they're hoping no one knows that. So that's one of the excuses they gave, though. But anyway, they wrote a script for Tremors 5 where Bert goes to Australia, but Universal said, "Nah, we're done." 4 did not do well.
That's kind of what we get. He goes to Africa.
Yeah, but do you remember reading the only rumor on that Tremors website, the Thunder from Down Under or whatever it was called, was the rumor of it. So the rumor had already come out. Now when Tremors 3 had come out, comic book stores were flooded with calls asking for them to order that Dark Horse comic book that was seen in the movie.
We saw in the movie.
I remember we saw it on the rack and we went and asked.
I wanted that comic book.
Yeah, we went and asked for that comic book too. But I remember I said, "Oh, they have a dark," because it said Dark Horse.
Yeah.
But all they did is they got Dark Horse to just do a cover for them.
Yeah.
There wasn't a comic book. I was like, "Oh no," because it was like Graboids versus Shriekers or something.
Yeah. Was
the comic book? I was like, I would read this. I know Dark Horse did this, but it was supposed to be a play on Predator versus Aliens and stuff like that. 2002, a video game was announced. I did not know this. It was canceled later on in 2003. And then at 2000, they said, merchandise just never got off the ground. In 2006, Comic Con toys were introduced. They were shown in the toy line they were coming out soon in 2006, and then canceled later that year. No reason was given. It's like Tremors can't catch a break when it comes to merchandising.
And that's been one of their problems. I do think Tremors would be a way bigger property today if they had, had the merchandising behind it.
And Tremors is so popular that there is an Earl Bassett Elementary School. You're welcome. Now, for Tremors 5, Stampede Entertainment, the original people, were offered executive producer roles, but they turned it down because they said it was a lower budget than 4. 5 does not feel like a lower budget than 4.
If it was, that's amazing.
But that's why they said they turned it down, because it was less money than they were given for 4. 4 is, no. 5 looks great.
Looks like a cheap TV movie.
Yes.
Though it is still a good movie.
No.
5 looks like a good direct-to-video movie.
Now, what he starts saying at the end of the book, because he said 5 is about to come out, he knew nothing of it. And he didn't have the insider information back then. That I'm sure he would now. But he said that he worries without the creative geniuses, will it still be good? And spoiler alert, it was.
Yeah, 5 was really good.
5 was exactly what they needed. They didn't need to start off with 6. 6 a little weak.
6 was not very good.
Yeah. And 7, we'll talk about next time on Princes of the Universe. There can be only one podcast, and may it be the Princes of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt.
I'm Bruce.
Okay. Sorry. Some. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Here we go.
I think this episode's doomed.